Kia ora team. We're going to go through and have a look at the text Absolutely Flying today. So this is a prose piece of writing, not a poem. So we do need to make sure that we have read through our text expectations and that we know what to expect from a prose. So if you haven't done that, make sure you click on the hyperlink on the side that to just refresh yourself about what we're looking for. That stuff is kind of in the middle here. About what we're looking for before we start. So I'm going to go through, I have put the actual one in here, but I've done an annotated version with kind of bigger gaps just so I can make some annotations as I go. I'm going to read it through first and then we'll go through and annotate bit by bit. Okay, text A, personal essay. This text is about a woman describing the experience of getting new glasses. Absolutely flying. The term good eyes resonates on the way my own house or a full head of hair must resonate for others. My eyes were good, at first. Then they slowly became less good, and within the space of about 2 years they became bad, so that sometimes, sitting at the back of a classroom and searching the blackboard, I felt scared, as though not being able to read it meant I couldn't process language anymore. When my first pair of glasses arrived, I left the optometrist and walked down the street, like someone who had awakened in the future. There had been so many new developments I might never had known. People's eyelashes, their blemishes, the buttons on their shirts. When people saw me staring, they looked away. I'd forgotten the rule about not looking too long. Even the trees had secret leaves, as detail. Light didn't come from the sun after all, but from things and people. It came from roads and roadside gardens, from couriers on bikes zigzagging across the footpath. It came from movement. As well as staring at people, I liked to take my new glasses off and on. Off, on, blind-sighted, absent-present. It was difficult to settle into the new eyes. But the more I allowed myself clear sight, the less I truly understood what it was that I saw, because the new detail lent a certain strangeness to things that I thought I had seen many times before. I could see the expression on my mother's face as she trudged back from the garden, could see her mouth slightly moving as she spoke to herself. What was she saying? I could see the clematis struggling with old man's beard in the bush. I could see new aerials on Ben Lomond. And on my way home, I could now clearly see the old man down in the road, who sat low in his car and watched me as I walked past. New parts of the world had been sifted out and held up, glinting. At night, despite my glasses, the Tikawiti lights still looked like landed UFOs. How lovely. Okay, so obviously from the description we know it's about getting new glasses and her, I guess, talking about her own personal experience with that. So already we know that this is a, that's yellow, that's not going to be very helpful to anyone, so let's just flick that back to red. Sorry, we know that this is a first person narration, so I'm just going to make a little note of that up here, just so we know, and I know that that's supported with that because I can see quite a few eyes and my's and eyes and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go through and highlight them all, but you kind of get the idea about why we know it's a first person narration, which makes sense when we read the little blurb up there. Okay, so let's have a look at this first paragraph first. So I guess the first thing that stuck out to me was this ridiculously long sentence that we have going on. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 commas in here, so a very long sentence, okay, with no more than 6 commas in it, which is crazy. And if I sort of start breaking that down, that whole long-winded sentence starts is kind of also full of quite a lot of negative connotations, which I'm going to highlight in yellow. So this is the idea that she felt scared, and things were becoming less good, and then they became bad, and she couldn't process language anymore. So tons of negative connotations going on. I'm just going to write negative C. I guess to me that sentence feels never ending, and I think it's the whole idea that she has this internal, almost like the sentence is representing the stress that she's not going to be able to participate in society anymore, that it's all kind of spiraling out of control for her, and you can kind of get this sense or this tone of fear and uncertainty coming across. Okay, so that is not how you spell uncertainty. Uncertainty. Okay, so yeah, whole idea of uncertainty coming across in that really long-winded sentence going on up there. I think as well, if we're really thinking about it, she does talk about this this adverb here, slowly. Oh, adverb. And I think the whole idea of it slowly, and the sentence is quite long as well. This idea of it kind of slowly, and we kind of get that the sentence is so long that everything is kind of happening slowly. So kind of two little things kind of going on there. I guess the key takeaway here is definitely the negative connotations and that really long sentences. You'll notice as we go in prose that sentence length becomes quite significant for talking about things. So let's go through and have a look at the rest. When my first pair of glasses arrived, I left the optometrist and walked down the street like someone who had awakened in the future. Bam! Contrast already. Woo! Already in that first sentence alone, there is this whole idea of like optimism. She seems much better. She's like a whole new person. So optimistic. What else can I see? Someone who had awakened in the future. So there is a simile there. It's a lot harder to type on this than it looks. There had been so many new developments. Cool adverb there. Like so many heaps. Adjective, sorry, not adverb, adjective. Okay, so many new developments that I might have never known. People's eyelashes, their blemishes, their buttons on the shirt. Great list. And there is, it's a list, it's a great list because it's a nice little, she's kind of listing off all the small things that she can notice now. So, you know, previously with her other eye, she didn't get to notice all those little things. She didn't get to see people's eyelashes and their blemishes and the buttons on their shirt. And you'll notice as well, like that sentence is quite a lot. It's a lot shorter compared to that previous other one. However, there is another little interesting thing in here. She's got sh, and then another sh, and then another sh. So there's a little bit of sibilance going on there, which is quite cool. I'll talk about that later, but yeah, just that little bit of sibilance with the sh makes it quite hard to get, like when you actually say it out loud, like people's eyelashes, their blemishes, their buttons on their shirts, because we have to overpronounce that sh sound. The sentence is quite like weird to kind of get out, and I think it kind of shows that she's excited, like all this fun stuff is kind of going on. Sibilance often has quite negative connotations, but not in here, which is cool. So anyway, list of all those small little things. When people saw me staring away, they looked away. I'd forgotten the rule about not looking too long. I guess you can kind of get a sense here that these new glasses aren't just allowing her to see, but I guess they're allowing her to participate properly in society. Doesn't really have like a nice language feature. It's just like I guess it's just a little like a little self-reflection here going on. Not everything can be targeted together. Sometimes they're just interesting. Even the trees had secret leaves as detail. Yeah, you can hopefully you're kind of getting the sense of like all this new stuff, like secret leaves. So those adjectives to describe, like it's like she's only seeing the secret. That she's kind of realized all the stuff that she's been missing. This whole thing is just, it's so optimistic and positive. You know, light didn't come from the sun. Look at that beautiful imagery. Some beautiful imagery there. It came from roadsides and gardens and couriers and bikes. It came from movement. So another list. So again, a list of all the things that she can see now in her new thing. So hopefully you can see that idea of contrast and how there is contrast between those two stanzas. That's probably going to be fairly significant, I would say. As well as staring at people, I like to take my new glasses off and on. Off, on, blindsided, absent, present. Another wee list going on here. And separated by commas and then semicolons, and each word juxtaposes, so deliberate opposites to the other. So off, on, juxtapose, blindsided, juxtapose, absent, present, juxtapose. And you can almost like see her, you know, like visualize her taking off her glasses, like off, on, blindsided, absent, present. So a little list there of a little list of juxtaposition there about her and it's exciting. Like you can kind of get the sense that she's kind of, playing around with her glasses and it's a little bit fun. So list fun, and we're going to put that juxtaposition there. I'm not going to spell it all out because I'm going to run out of room. It was difficult to settle into the new eyes. Oh, that's not so great, is it? So despite all this fun stuff, she's still, there are some challenges that are coming with this, and we know that because of that verb. It was difficult. We know that because of that word difficult there, and settle into new eyes. So I'm quite metaphoric. You don't actually settle into new eyes. But the more I allowed myself clear sight, the less I truly understood what it was that I saw, because the new detail lent a certain strangeness to things that I thought I had seen before so many times. So we've got this another kind of almost negative connotation here. Strangeness is acting as an adjective there. So this one here, again, quite a long sentence. So we've got a nice long sentence going on there. And it has this sort of tone of almost like confusion with it. So like I allowed myself to see, but then I understood what I wasn't seeing because it was also strange and so different to the stuff I had seen before. So lots of contrast going on with that one back in there as well. Okay, let's have a look at that new part. I could see the expression on my mother's face as she trudged back from the garden, could see her mouth slightly moving as she spoke to herself. What was she saying? So, rhetorical question. I'm just going to write RQ down here. Then we have that word trudge. So we've got a nice verb. Trudge has quite negative connotations, as if everything is hard, and her mouth slightly moving doesn't have particularly positive connotations either. So more negativity going on there. I think that it's quite an interesting idea that these glasses have lent her new sight, and now all of a sudden she's like seeing all this negativity, stuff that didn't bother her before that now she can see, and she's kind of like, what? I'm like, why can I see all this stuff? Not why can I see all this stuff, but the stuff that she had just, I guess, never thought about because she couldn't see it, and now she's all confused about why her mother is kind of trudging from the garden and speaking to herself, and that she fears she's kind of missing out on that, and that's what that rhetorical question is doing. It's sort of showing our readers almost fear or uncertainty, which is kind of paralleling that paragraph at the top there. Okay, I could see Clementa struggling with the old man's beard in the bush. Those are both plants, by the way. And look at that, we have another verb there of negativity going on. So we could sort of see that one plant is taking over the other plant. And I could see when I would see new areas on Ben Lomond. Ben Lomond is a hill. Lomond is a small hill, for those of you that didn't know that. So I guess, again, like imagery and negativity going on here, and again, not quite a list, although there is that, look, that's that anaphora thing I was talking about last time. I would. So that rule of 3, kind of making a list of like all the things that now her glasses have seen that are not so great. And then we have this, there's another one. And then on my way home, I could clearly see the man down the road who sat low in his car and watched me as I walked past. Gross. We get us, I think this is sort of showing that, there's icky things coming with the new glasses as well. So not everything is so great. Again, lots of contrast with the stuff that's going on up there. Okay, let's see what else we could see. And actually, sorry, this is what annotating is like. And even that and that conjunction there, again, supports that whole anaphora and that list. Like, I could see this, and I could see this, and I could see this. So again, almost acting as a list of all the negative things that she could see too. Let's look at this last part. New parts of the world had been sifted out and held up glinting. So we've got a metaphor here, because we can't literally sift the world. Metaphorical. And I guess to me that she's sort of saying, everything had been sort of rejiggled and made clear to her, and but that glinting word's got quite positive connotations, which is nice. And at night, despite my glasses, the two kitty lights still looked like landed UFOs. So we finish on that simile there. And I think it's a really nice positive ending going on there, because she's saying that despite all these changes, all the bad changes and all the good changes, the Tukuti lights still look like UFOs to her. They're still the same, Obviously, the simile is not necessarily doing that, because the simile is actually comparing the Tukuti lights to UFOs. But the whole idea of finishing there is that despite all these changes, something was still the same. And I think that's quite calming for her. So we kind of end on a nice note there. So I guess if you kind of look through what I've talked about, you'll kind of see that there's kind of less languagey features coming through, and a lot of me talking about long sentences and short sentences and how those sentences, I guess, kind of feel. So that's, I guess, what you're kind of looking for. It would be really helpful as well to just make sure that when you are looking at prose, that you are thinking about tone. So again, we had this whole tone in this first one that was really uncertain and fearful, and actually a really good word to use would be anxious. Then we kind of again get that contrast with that second tone going on with she is really excited, so we have that contrast there between those two. And then we almost kind of go back to not so much I guess fearful here, but yeah, definitely a bit of a contrast to that excited, and then kind of back to being calm over here. So quite a few changes in tone that could be worth talking about. Okay, so that should give you quite a lot of things. I absolutely definitely would have missed some stuff. Do not feel like we teachers are the bearer of all knowledge. So if you have found different things that you think might be interesting, you can absolutely talk about that. But that should give you a good starting place for your annotations.